Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg with Key Performance Ideas, and I would like to welcome you to our webinar, Reconciliation Compliance with Oracle Cloud. Today's webinar will be presented by Cullen. Cullen is an Oracle Hyperion certified consultant with extensive experience implementing the full life cycle of EPM solutions from design, project management, implementation, administration, analysis, and reporting development. His experience also spans across several industries with companies of all sizes. Recognized for his analytic skills, he delivers complex solutions to clients in support of their strategic goals. Cullen, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate everyone taking the time to come out and join us for another web session here for KPI's web series. We're going to talk about the reconciliation compliance over in Oracle Cloud. And I want to start off by going through exactly kind of settling us in where this fits in the overall EPM solution, especially when it comes to the full stack of how we are closing our books in actuals every month, as well as the overall financial outlook of our systems. The first thing I want to recognize here is the planning module. The planning module that fits in today, it is oriented toward decision plans, also the what-if modeling, built-in scenario modeling, and also there are actual modules within planning now that include workforce, capital management, which is managing new capital, existing assets, review of your capital stance, as well as the financials, which includes revenue expense, balance sheet, cash flow, all that logic built into your planning and forecasting, which is the leading eBPCS product today. That also includes the project module, which is the detailed project planning and project performance. And to note that our next webinar in our series is going to be July 30th on this product. It's going to be on the project performance and detailed project planning. So account reconciliation also has really close integrations with the financial close. Financial consolidation and close is the actuals process that has the pre-configured consolidation model. It's the leading practice in optimization across it's fully comprehensive and includes the rule support, consolidation support. All the financial consolidation is built in with pre-built cash flow, balance sheet. There's also income statement and connectivity into the core source system. So that product itself joins closely very much what we're going to talk about today, especially on the integration side of account reconciliation. Narrative reporting, that product allows us to streamline, create grids, integrate with Oracle and non-Oracle sources. This is all your report creation. So you have a narration in here, which is a really great enhancement here that allows us to put commentary against the content of the reports and then carry that forward through our process. Profitability and cost management, just to summarize it, we can scale this product down to really maximize our profit or have a good understanding of minimizing the cost through the quick assumption changes that happen as part of that process and understanding the root causes of those costs and revenue changes. Our source drivers and source data can come from anywhere in this product, and it really scales down to the operational level, something that really hasn't been able to be done in the market outside of a native solution. And tax reporting is also allows us to give really good out-of-the-box workflows, configurable tax schedules, allows the tax process to be automated, support with, even over to controversy management, R&D credit, transfer pricing data being compiled, as well as tax compliance. And finally, the EDM product, which allows us to have a centralized view of validation across all of our metadata, allowing us to deploy all from one place. So one thing that is transitioned in the cloud is allowing us to have dimensionality that allows us to have one spot that checks out across the entire enterprise and deploys it out. So as you can see, this is a comprehensive solution that is very detailed, but very easy to use. So if you've had experience with the EPM Cloud solution to date, you know that it's easy to adopt because everything's online. And it's first-in-class functionality that gleans off of a very good reputation from Oracle, especially in the Hyperion space side of the house. So overall in the cloud solution, account reconciliation financial consolidation close, the reporting that comes out of it, the profitability and cost management side, as well as the planning and the EDM side of the house, gives us a really complete solution that Oracle is really proud of, and Key Performance Ideas is really proud of the times that we've gotten to interact with these tools. So to the presentation today, we're going to talk about something pretty specific. Today we're going to talk about the reconciliation compliance module, why you should care about it, how will it help you. I want to give some practical examples as well as a walkthrough of what exactly the tool offers. The account reconciliation product is broken up into really two different sections. The foundation of it is what we're going to be talking about. It's an end-to-end product that basically looks at managing the process. It's typically associated with the process where you have to address security issues, risk as part of your reconciliation process. Most of the time, our clients are seeing that everything is becoming more and more global. So things get a little bit more complex on the local level. So we're trying to simplify it and have a faster automated process so that our tasks are not killing us month to month, and that the efficiencies that happen, and it's just very, very labor intensive as it is in spreadsheets. And so we're not looking to manage spreadsheets and emails as well as the workplace being spread as it is now. We have a centralized, purpose-built solution that really helps us soup to nuts. So it's broken down into two different modules, and we're going to talk about one of them, which is the foundation. But one of the other modules is transaction matching, which the major difference between transaction matching and reconciliation compliance is really the match types. There's additional analysis that can be done at the lower level of analysis, but it introduces these match types, which the types would be such as intercompany accounts or your bank accounts or your accounts receivable, AP, and all these other clearing accounts. They group them and then put transactions to match across a process. And once that comes out, that process of loading data, running that auto match, you'll hear that term auto matching. You confirm those matches, and then you create the manual matches on top of it. So beyond the transaction matching, which I'll probably reference a few times in here because they are becoming more and more in sync and merged. So as you see your rollouts happen as part of the EPM cloud, which are automatic, you'll see that come through more and more clearly, which is so managing the reconciliation process. When we're talking about reconciliation compliance, it's all about the process. You have, and if you've gone through the rec process, that not only does it take time and space really on the spreadsheets and email, and you have shared drives and shared folders, and people are in and out of the office, and there's no way to really look at the visibility of where you are in the process. So as we talk about account grouping, like the balance sheet accounts or variance analysis on the P&L, consolidation of certain levels of the reconciliation process, we don't need to go down to every single level, every single time for every single account. So when we're talking about cash, AP, AR, comparing that GL to subledger and analyzing the age of that receivable is very important, and it really takes a lot of documentation. So we want to ensure compliance and flexibility across all of those levels so that we do hit the target. You're going to hear a lot about visibility when you talk about reconciliation. So especially if you have a team, over 10, but if you have a team of 3 and you're in separate offices around the world, you're going to have a difficult communication. What this product allows us to do is zone in and drop into a process, find out exactly where we are, find out who's involved, who's responsible for the next step, and also get into the status of where we are in that life cycle with proper documentation and any level of detail that we need. Now, this will go all the way from an administrator who is configuring and setting up the system, all the way to maybe a view-only user or even an auditor that is allowed to log in to the system, no matter where they are, no matter what team that firm is part of. If it's an external firm, they can drop in as well in this life cycle. So it saves you time, saves meetings, allows us to really look at who's responsible for what, making sure that's clear, and at the end of the day, using the data that we actually are relying upon. So here's some detail on the benefits. We really want to have clear responsibilities and timescales. So what this means is that who's doing what, when. Do I have the system capability of knowing who's in charge? If someone is unavailable, will I know who's stepping in their place? Do I have to manage that myself? Do I have to onboard that myself, or can I allow the system to take care of it for me? Trust and reliability are a big piece of this as well because we're getting sign-offs. So access control is a feature of the product that we'll talk about. That benefit allows us to have authorized users for certain pieces of the reconciliation, which allow for reduced frequency as well as just collaboration across your team, which is becoming more and more important as our workspaces change. So as we are in physical workspaces all around the world or at home, the cloud solutions really come into play so that we can have that peace of mind knowing that the confidential information is available no matter where we are, no matter where we're sitting. So we want to make sure that your organization is able to ensure the accounts are properly reconciled across the correct format, and that's contained throughout every single justification that needs to happen. So this product allows for a workflow, and workflows are going to really see, you're going to see workflow that kind of posture toward the EPM cloud as you move forward through any of these products. Risk prevention is a big part of this. Control structures, organizational roll-ups are important here, and as well as the integrated document repository. So today you probably have shared drives and emails, and you may be walking across the office. Well, now you can have all of those physical assets integrated directly into your system to support, to provide that auditability, as well as not having anything lost along the process. So as we move through the periods of the period end process, that approval follows us throughout the process. So month to month, we're able to compound on the work that we've done instead of hitting a total reset button every single month. So here's some additional features, just a little bit of a left turn here on what you're actually going to be encountering. So it does have an integration with ERP systems. So this is both cloud, and the technology allows us to do some on-prem integrations as well. All those spreadsheets that you have, there are some templates that are available to us to import in bulk. There are mapping features as well using data management or FDMEE that allow us to use maybe some tools that you already own. But if not, data management is a really easy to use tool that allows us to map our source accounts into the rules and the logic that we would like, map them up to a level that is appropriate to where we're doing our reconciliation. So the good news about configuration is that you do have the flexibility to auto reconcile, and this is based on user-defined filters, which is great for those of us who need to customize and those of us who may have a certain account that we want reconciled a different way than another. The system will not design us out of that possibility. So certain accounts are also configured based on certain frequencies. So the approval levels are important. We have collaborators, we have view users, we have approvers, we have preparers, we have administrators. All of these levels of approval are clear, they are concise, and they are trackable throughout the entire process. We're going to talk about formats as well as filtering and reporting throughout the presentation. But it's all about the process. It's really all about the process. So as we go through this process, it's really just a 6-step cycle of what you encounter on a monthly basis today, whether it be tens or hundreds or thousands of records that need to be reconciled. We have up to millions of records that can be reconciled as part of this product, and the mapping really helps us with that. But whenever we're loading the data, it's very important for us to know that performance is key. We want anything to be prepared ahead of time that is possible. So this would be, day -5. This would be the day -1 of the close. The books are closed. You get through that process. You don't want to have to not have that data available. So the integration tools today really help with the REST APIs, with data management capabilities, and this tool actually automatically generates a lot of the previously data management driven process that need to be put in place. So we're loading the data. We are auto reconciling all of our balances. So once those balances have been loaded, auto reconciliation occurs. At that point, the reconciliation is complete. Certain types of accounts would be, for example, those that are with 0 balances, or those with the source system and subsystem balances match. all of those are automatically done, and anything that falls out will need to be reconciled manually. Now that's a big deal right there, because if you have 85% of your reconciliations that are the same behavior every single month, and you're just ticking down a list, these can be auto reconciled, approved, and then you can go in and at the level that allows for sign off finally, and you can ask questions, and there's lots of different attributes that you can add as part of that process as well. Once that's complete, you're notified, which is nice. So everyone appreciates 1,001 notifications per day on our phones or on our laptops or anything else, and so this is no different. However, you do have a lot of flexibility of turning notifications on and off, as well as the frequency of them. But at the end of the day, it's nice to be notified versus finding something on a checklist that's not done. Now you have to go and track it down. You get that notification just like we would have any other system. It's really nice how that's integrated. Then we're in the preparation phase. So now we're preparing so for the work required by those preparers, and now we're completing the reconciliation, and now we're getting ready for review. So preparation steps happen at this phase, and now we're into review. So this is where we introduce workflow. Workflow actually allows us to review or commentate or supplement any place in the entire process. So once we're reviewing it, we have certain measures that we want to mark against. All of this data is accessed over a URL, so we don't have to integrate anything on a local laptop. And then finally, once we have our review completed, we're simply in monitoring stage. So once we monitor in the process, especially an administrator, the approval can go all the way up the chain really quickly, or all the way down to the bottom over into your GL really quickly as you monitor this. So think of we're drilling into the lowest level of detail as part of our process, not necessarily as part of our transactional record. So we can expose lots of attributes, which we'll get into, and we'll navigate throughout the process all the way until completion. So as the navigator, we have a navigation pane that should be familiar. This is in alignment with the rest of the EPM cloud stack, which is really user-friendly. Thankfully, it drops all of the features that are most used as part of that navigator, and then we can move forward into performing the level of detail that we want to as part of a reconciliation. Insert profiling segments. So profile segments, these are the segments that are part of your general ledger. This allows you to basically define whatever makes sense for your business of the level of detail that you want to perform your reconciliation. So you may have some reconciliations by your, call it business unit or company code, department or project. This example that I'm showing here has the company, department, project account, as well as intercompany transactions that need to be reconciled. Now this is a very low level of detail of which you can imagine. This could really blow out exponentially how many reconciliations we have, especially at the company or department level. If you're down to the project, you're doing some low-level reconciliation at this point. So this does not limit us to having all of these basically populated every single time. There's a concept of mapping that allows us to, if we have the detail at maybe the project level, the intercompany level, but it's a non-intercompany account, what we can do is summarize that field, if you will, summarize project, summarize intercompany, and now we're just looking at company, department, and account. If we don't need department, then we can actually reconcile a whole lot of records or a whole lot of accounts by company and account, and that's totally fine. If you are at that point, you're at a very summary level, which allows you to really utilize a lot of the logic that is capable within the product. Configuration of this tool is really easy. So when I first walked into this tool, I come from a background of having lots of different configuration options. This configuration walkthrough, it walks you down a path, a very simple path, and it's really 3 steps, and the fourth one would be the reporting side of the house. But the configuration really has 3 different components. It's the format, it's the profile, it's the reconciliation, and then as you can imagine, at the end of the process, you're simply reporting on all of the findings that you did. So the format is simply defined as the type of account. So you have standard formats, you have customized formats. These formats are definitely configurable. So typically what happens is we start with a standard format and then we customize it and then we reuse it. So it's either based on account analysis or the balance comparison. And then we move on to the profile. The profile is just a template that determines what needs to be done. This is the one that can be created one time and then utilized period over period. So previously I was speaking about when we move from 1 month in close to the next, sometimes we lose a bit of that information and we lose the capability of reusing that. It's a big reset button. It's not the case for the profile. So we are copying over our previous work. That previous work is set in time. It cannot be changed unless it's reopened. There's some settings for that to allow it, but it's maintained forever. And that profile can be changed. However, it also allows us to add additional information that maybe will be within a supplemental spreadsheet or another tab of a 50 tab workbook that we may be using. So things like who's the preparer, who's the reviewer, who's the commentator, who's the viewer. Give me some change history. That would be nice. Give me some rules. Give me some attributes, some custom attributes that I can add. Maybe there's something specific to your business that is very hard, not just to communicate out, but it's hard to capture. This allows you to do that. The profiles are set up as part of the configuration. Then our final step is the actual reconciliation. So this is the reconciliation is an object that is created from the profile automatically. So once the data is pulled from the source system, the reconciliation can be created at this point. So let's get into some details on each of these three, and then we'll go into the settings of each. So the format screen that you have here is you look at a normal screen across the top. You have the overview, the profiles, the periods, configuration. Within the configuration, where on the far left side, we're looking down the formats. So the formats is basically determining what the reconciliation will look like. What are the type of information we want? Who can enter it? We have a library that's put out there for us, but we can take that library, we can open the format, we can change the attributes, and then we can save it as another name, and then we can reuse it over and over. So all formats are based on 3 different methods. You have balance comparison, account analysis, or variance analysis. The formats can also take on different properties, such as a method. We can put in instructions. We can reference files that attach to it, like a Word document or spreadsheet that we can't avoid, or maybe PDF documentation that we want to put down. History of changes is actually big and widely used from what I've seen. So there's a change history that's actually very valuable when it comes to justification. We can add attributes like journal entry number, supplier number, policy number, and also we have selected rules that apply by consolidation. So each month, reconciliations are created from profiles by the admins. So those profiles, each month, that it's stored, but the reconciliation is never impacted by the changes that may be put in place. So if a process is created from the profiles and it causes a snapshot of profiles to be taken and stored along with the other reconciliations and changes need to be made, well, that is not changed in the past, that is kept. So that's actually an important one to note. So on your screen here, you see the different pieces of the profile. You have the instructions, workflow, currencies. You do have the ability to have multiple currencies and any kind of rules and history that's allowed there. So I want you to focus on the auto reconciliation component of this. So the method is very important. So part of that auto reconciliation, we may have percent tolerances, or we know the balance is, if the balance is 0, we want to automatically go ahead and close it out. You have on the matching side, this is the transaction matching, which allows you to have a percent tolerance and a dollar tolerance of maybe it's down to the penny or maybe it's not, and that tolerance moves it to an auto close state where it is closed and it is moved on up the chain. You can also manually enter balances throughout the process, and you can have age limits. We have an organizational unit as well as the method there and the account type. So all of this hangs together within the profile, which then moves us into the reconciliation itself. Once the reconciliation is created, we're going to be able to have justification for the balances. We'll be able to identify the differences. We can make corrections. So one-off profiles can be created, but we can also import a lot of these profiles to then create the reconciliations. So again, you can do thousands of profiles can be created and imported in bulk, which these reconciliations will run right after it. So as time goes on, there's going to be ongoing improvements that happen as part of these reconciliations. So as we run the reconciliations based on the profile, you're going to get a screen like this, which shows you a status, which gives you results, which then takes them into what was selected to reconcile, what pieces were copied from a prior period or selected and copied to the next period, and then what are the places in the details that are currently running that were not copied before. And then finally, of course, you get your error messages, and full detail is put into a jobs console. So the concept of a job or a job schedule is also seen throughout the EPM Cloud process. It's no different here for the account reconciliation service. So once we get into the details, this is really where we want to land. So this is really the meat of the final result. So we want to first look at the unexplained differences. So for this example, we have accounts payable. We have no unexplained differences. Now this is post auto reconciliation that happens. So just to walk you through this screen a little bit of the information that was captured out of the format, out of the profile that was created, and then finally the reconciliation ran, the result shows us a summary view. It shows us and gives us the capability to make any adjustments. It also allows us to make adjustments to the subsystem. One thing to note here that compliance doesn't give us, but the transaction action does, it allows us to actually repost back into our subledger. So that's pretty important if we are having a tool that is managing the overall process. It also allows from an integration perspective to move data back and forth. So if we have updated records that need to be repulled, the reconciliation is rerun. We don't lose anything as part of that process. So if we're looking at imbalance and the differences and we need to make adjustments, you can see the layered layout here for the balance summary. To note as well, if there's a drop down next to functional USD, if you had an entered currency or a local currency that's different than your functional, you could also toggle between these. And so you can see the differences based on the resource account that you have here. So you also see a trend. So this trend over time allows you to see the progress from previous reconciliations. And finally, on the right side, you can see the attachments. You can see the end date. You can see how many days there until due. You can actually pin down who the preparer is. Looks like Carrie Lane is on this one, and we've asked them some questions. So once we get these questions out, these can be questions to us, or they can also be questions out to the user base that happens upon the reconciliation process. And finally, we have some comments that are captured here. That's some narrative. That's awfully nice to have once we go through. Okay, so we have run our reconciliations. We've seen our details. Now let's drop in as an administrator and see where we are on the overall process for that month. So this allows us to kind of reach into the dashboarding side of things. This is the monitor part of our process here. So the overview dashboard, find out, it really gives us information that allows us to see who's late, what's the status, what type of data is actually being done, and how many are complete or incomplete based on that summary. And you can see kind of the view by format. There's a drop down here that's really good in this tool. It allows you to have a lot of filter options. You can create and you can save filters based on your preference. So if you have a certain view of any of this data, just like in a spreadsheet where you may freeze panes and you have your filtration on there and you may consolidate or group, this tool keeps that in mind because we're moving people from spreadsheets that they're really good at and they're really efficient at from their local perspective, but overall it takes a lot of time. The tool takes that into account, does a really good job of graphically displaying it, allowing us to make sense of it as well. So they really simplified things, and smaller things here are better. than more complicated things. So that's been really nice. The snapshot itself goes one level down from here. Now we're down to the user level. We see that we have 1,145 completed reconciliations. We have some that were rejected. We have some that were on time, 94%. That's decent. We reviewed a lot on time, which is good. We have some warnings, some outliers. We also have the breakdown by person. So we have 77 were on time by the AP preparers. We got some rejections. We got some late folks in there. And also it gives us some additional graphs for aging violations or large unexplained differences based on our tolerances. So if you want to drop in on that life cycle, you've got all the data that you need. If you currently have a system in place or you don't, that allows for a step-by-step process across all of your systems, then you'll be familiar with this screenshot here. So this is direct integration out of the financial close system that has a close manager component to it. It gives a by day step task view of exactly what needs to be performed when. So the reason I'm showing you this is because we're talking about the overall process and making that more efficient. Seeing one level more global, looking across all your systems, whether it be actuals or whether it be forecasting data or your plan process or whatever you need to do for FX or getting all the way down to locking it and promoting it. This system integrates with those types of systems as well. So another reason, another nod to the EPM approach on the cloud systems because the services are hanging together quite nicely. So period over period, this is what a period screen looks like. You have a start period, you have an end period for each of those profiles. You can add periods as needed. You can also start small and do one period, then two periods, and then move on from there. These are as of date. So as of date, every period will have a start date, as I mentioned. We associate these periods with the reconciliations. So period by period, we also associate how much data we can capture here. So last reconciled, is an auto reconciliation running now? What's the close date? What's the end date? We have multi-currency capability. I think I mentioned earlier about the entered versus functional and reporting. We have full capability of adding currencies all across the world, which makes this product scalable. Customization is a big part, and this is something that people have really enjoyed, which is putting their own business terms into the tool itself. So we have a monthly or quarterly process. We also have account type groupings. So these are entered by you, which goes down through the balance sheet assets, current assets. You can group these account types, and then you can manage the account reconciliations by those account types. Lots of settings here, which are actually really helpful to the preparer, really helpful for the admin, also really helpful to any viewer that you may have as part of your system. So system settings, again, we can have bulk updates. You can allow for data loads. The email notifications are really important in here. As I mentioned, risk ratings are here, process details. And then when we get into other preferences, this is a screen that you'll see here. The general preferences are you can add a photo. You have a time zone capability, which actually converts a task scheduled start and end date into the time zone of the user. So that produces a local start date and a local end date. The notifications can not just be once a day as shown here, but also every 2, 3, 4, or 6 hours in case you need a due date reminder. There's some actually easy to read settings here. We don't have to go and define what is actually happening of what we're getting notified for. It rolls it out very nicely. Some general settings that you'll see are the roles, the security, email address, and also messaging. If you have a person that is a preparer that is suddenly out of the office, and if that person is the primary user, if that person is now unavailable, they can set their setting or their status to unavailable, and the task that they are associated to reverts to the backup. So that's really important because that happens automatically. So if a backup is available, that task will automatically revert to that person, and that is set inside of these settings. Last thing I want to say about preferences is that we can talk about teams. You can have teams of people, whether it be by region or by country or geographical setting or however you segment your business. You can do it by state or anything else. These are teams that can be set up that also go across the entire cloud solution. All right, so integration. Integration has support across all of the services. So what that means is the cloud API is supported in this tool. EPM Automate is also available in this tool. The task manager integrations for the administrators have quite a long list of things that we can integrate with, as well as the other products. So we mentioned them earlier, planning, FCCS, also the tax reporting cloud, the old PBCS, which is the profitability and cost management cloud system as well. So all of these systems can be integrated with as well as ERPs. So I put a list of some of the ERPs here on the right side that you can check out. And all these are pre-built. So these are things that are being enabled, not necessarily configured and highly customized like we used to have to do. So this is a screen in the back end I wanted to kind of show. This is data management, and this just shows the integrations for the targets that have to happen. So you see we integrate with Essbase in this example, but we also have the planning, Essbase, custom applications, consolidation, tax reporting, and also the transaction matching for data sources. So if we go back to thinking about the difference between transaction mapping and compliance, compliance and transaction matching differences are basically on the match types. This transaction matching data source here will allow us to get to a lower level of detail as well as right back to our sources. All of this can be accessed in the Academy. So Oracle's done a very good job, in my opinion, of not just allowing us more access to more information, but also allowing us to have a community of people. So the Customer Connect option is there, as well as part of the Academy. You can have nice, easy videos that are short, that are concise, that are helpful. And also, we also have an education learning track with these webinars over at KPI that we'll be conducting over time. And if you have anything you want to check out there, go to our webinars as well as our blog. Our blog has a lot of information out there, not just with account reconciliation, but also allowing us to move forward with evolving with the cloud. So contact us. You can contact us at info-web@keyperformanceideas.com. My name is Colin Caballero. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect at KPI. And I'm very happy to thank you for your time. And I hope this is educational. And please provide any feedback to us as needed. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Colin. And thank you all for joining us for our webinar, Reconciliation Compliance with Oracle Cloud. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you again and have a great day.